Hello everyone. I couldn't have asked for better background from some of the talks that we've had from Derek, Jeff, and Ray. And I think this is what I like about these conferences. You get to hear different perspectives about the same concept, and this is my perspective on what I call as a concept is conversational UI and how it is changing or killing the design as we knew it or as we know it today. My name is Amol. I started a usability and user experience consultancy firm back in 2011 in Dubai. We were the first UX consultancy firm, and in our journey we have come here. We have come a long way as a region, GCC, and overall. So this particular talk actually came into my mind after a conversation that I had with one of my client, who's ex-client I would say, and a friend now. So this is the message that I got from him. What's this new thing called CUI or conversational? He came back from some conference and he heard about it. My message was, hey, let me try to explain to you. And he said, is it new or has it been there for a long time? What's happening? I said, not really, it's been there for quite a long time now. It's just that we did not realize it or we did not name it, just like user experience and everything that goes with it. It was there, but we started naming it as user experience, customer experience, and all these terms lately. His next question was, so what about this UX design thing that you keep talking about? So I said, it is still design, isn't it? How do you design for that? And that pretty much actually is the content or the agenda for my talk. So this conversation actually became a kind of a key message for me that I need to talk about this and put my thoughts together on it. So if you talk about conversational UI, what is conversational UI? Conversational UI is any interface that actually evokes, mimics humans' ability to converse or react in his natural manner can be qualified as conversational UI, right? It can be different forms. It can be just text, sound, voice, gestures, touch. It can be anything. Anything that actually evokes a response and mimics a human behavior. That's how I saw it. And if you look at it, it's so ironic. We built computers to do things that we cannot do, to ease things for humans, and now we want them to become like us. So it's like a full circle. We wanted computers. We built computers to make things, to build things, to do things that we didn't do or we couldn't do, or we wanted them to do it, and now we want them to behave like humans. Do you want to talk? So if you look at the history of conversational UI, I think it goes way back, and again, conversational UI consists of so many different things, and I'll explain that in a bit. So it started with in 1950 it started with a Turing test. It actually was a test where they wanted to find out if human beings can understand if it's a human or a computer talking to them, and it started from there. So they built a small algorithm to actually mimic human and to see if people understand this. The next attempt came in form of ELIZA. It's a few people in MIT built this. The whole code was just 200 lines. They built this tool where they can actually, they started interacting with through command prompt. It was in 1963-64. It was called ELIZA. Then a psychiatrist or a therapist actually made another tool called Perry in 1972 to actually mimic or to actually have few questions and replies to that question to see if people are actually schizophrenic, and it was called Perry. We had few more attempts, and again without us realizing it, conversational UI can be anything. We had Bob in early 90s from Microsoft, which actually was kind of an instructional help tool that Microsoft built, and they did it again, and I don't know how many of you remember this. It was even famous for, so annoying and so many people uninstalled it, but it was also conversational UI. We called it Clippy. It came with Windows 97. So that was also a conversational UI. Then came IBM Watson. We learned a lot about it today, but it started in 2006, way before we thought it was there, and it started with, this Jeopardy show where they had a competition with IBM Watson. In the first attempt though, IBM Watson only could give 15% right answers, and it has come a long way. Then in 2010 we had Siri, and some of us we use it like every single day. I'm saying some of us. 2012 Google came up with its own Google Voice. So if you look at it, if you look at the overall concept, and again there is no right or wrong way to put this, but chatbot, whether it's through voice, through text, are today what actually consists of conversational UI, one of them. And chatbot is actually just about talking to machines, isn't it? There is a bigger picture to it, which is artificial intelligence, which is again interacting or talking to intelligent machine. But if you combine all of this, it's actually the conversational UI, and that's how I put things in perspective. So conversational is about talking, conversing, and getting things done. So anything that actually that does that, and again there could be so many different components that can go in within this. Now you might think, all this is great, we looked at the history and everything, but we are UX designers. Most of us here are UX designers, isn't it? We do UX. Why should I care about all this? Let the technology teams, engineers, and whoever is developing should worry about all this technology and all that. Why should we worry about that? Well, if you look at the history or evolution of interface, then we will know why we should care about it. We should learn, and as I was saying, we should accept and adapt to it. So we started computers with, and we interacting with computers with keyboards. It was mainly the only source that we could interact with it. Then we came to GUI, or graphical user interface. Slowly we moved to touch and gestures. Today we are moving to voice. However, with this evolution, many things have changed. If you take a step back and look at this evolution in a different light, you will see so many things have changed, and that will actually give us where things would be, and we looked at future of user experience and everything. This whole interface or everything has done many good things for all of us, for human beings, right? What it has done, so few things have gone up, few things have come down. So what has gone up? The accuracy has gone up. The control that we have, in terms of errors and everything, it has gone up a lot. We can control, these devices and everything a lot more, and they control us as well. They have become slowly, if you look at this evolution, they have slowly become more natural, from keyboard to graphical interface to touch, gestures, voice, and we don't know where it's going to go, mind reading. It has also become more personal. Things have become more personal with, when PC became personal and so on and so forth. Now we have personal devices, everything is personal. It has become so personal now. What has gone down? And again, not in a bad way, but the onus on users have gone down. The way we would look at people using these things, these interfaces, it used to be a lot about users and how users interpret and what kind of inputs they are giving. So the ability or ability of cognition load that users had, that dependency has gone down. The hurdles that we had, we need to have the keyboard which is big, and then the mouse pad and all those things are slowly going down. The hurdles are getting this thing. Device dependency is going down, and we looked at, as I said, previous talks were very good background for all this. The device dependency has gone down drastically. But so if you look at this whole evolution, in my view, the whole thing is actually evolving into something what I call human experience or human interface. Everything is becoming as we saw, invisible, its voice so natural, but I think we can coin and we can group it, or we can call it human interface, because we have come from keyboard to and human interface is actually a dream that every technology has gone ahead and tried creating an interface with voice, with gestures, with touch and everything. That's where they want to go. They want to move to an area or a phase where it's about human experience and human interface. And while this is happening, one interesting thing is happening is that our good old GUI or all that is actually slowly becoming, and it's changing for sure, and I don't know whether it's going to end, but maybe it's reaching its end as a graphical user interface. Slowly it will. Now, why is that happening? Why is that the graphical user or the design, UX design or interface design as we know it today or we knew a few years back, why all this is happening? I think one of the reasons is we all have these moments with our users, isn't it? One of the reasons is it's becoming very complex. The tasks that we want our UI designs and UX and the logic that we build into it, it's becoming very, very complex for a lot of users. And that's one reason that is happening. The second reason that again that goes against our conventional UX design or GUI is the cost of development, and the length and the amount of time it takes is huge, isn't it? We all have clients who say, oh, you're going to charge us this much. It's because it's not because of it's just because we want to charge them, but it's the time and the cost involved are very high. Another thing that is happening is because most of the user experience design or UI design is based on hypothesis, is based on our research and based on, end of the day, it's still something that we put in front of as we saw, is design that we put in front of our users. That design is actually, most of the times, is not ready for surprises, and it cannot handle the unexpected. What if my users do this, to that, because everything is limited to the elements and the components that we have put together on that design. So that's one more reason. Another reason that I believe GUI is going to change drastically is this, that it depends a lot on human cognition. We have so many features, so many buttons, call to actions, images, offers, and personalization. Everything is on that one screen or one design, and we talk about affordance. The affordance is not good. The mind map, we haven't matched the mind map, is because we are trying to connect with the user, and we still depend on his cognition, his understanding of our design. And that's where, again, I'll largely talk about chatbots in today's presentation, but when I say conversational UI, that's where conversational UI has many things going for it, and it's a good time to be a conversational UI or a chatbot. It has many things going for it. And what are these things? These things are the fact that messaging apps now have over 5 billion monthly users worldwide. It's actually more than social media, but it's actually just the messaging apps of these social media that have more monthly users than everything else put together. The second fact is the way the audiences are changing. If you look at the Generation Y, Generation X split, if you look at that, people are spending less time on calls, this Generation Y, and spending more time on SMS and chat. What it tells us is they are into this chat and everything related to that. So as I said, the audience is changing. Also, let's be honest, chatbots or conversational UI in its totality is more engaging, and that's why converts better. And I don't have the exact stat with me, but it showed that there is a flight booking chatbot which actually has, on a chatbot, has 380% more conversion than their website. I'm not sure whether it's Skyscanner or Hipmunk, but that's the stat that I read recently. Let's look at how focused it is. This on the left hand side is the interface that Skyscanner has as a website, and that is a chatbot. See how focused it is? It's less clutter and focused task flow, and that's why it converts better. Now, while the chatbot or the conversational UI has all these things going for it, we might wonder, how do I go about designing for this? Is it still designing? Can we still call it designing, or is it just engineering? Now, just like the principles of human interaction or conversation, there are certain principles that you can follow for a great conversation. Now, the principles that I have put together are based on our human conversation. Now, these may or may not be directly related to to specific technologies, whether it's voice UI, whether it's chat, whether it's gesture based, but I believe for every good conversation there are certain principles that we as human beings should follow, and these principles are relevant to overall conversational UI. The first and foremost thing is a warm welcome. Whenever we meet somebody new, you came into this conference area and you met somebody new, a warm welcome always starts with a few brownie points, isn't it? I put together a few hypothetical scenarios as examples, and these are just my hypothetical scenarios that I actually put together. So it's like, maybe it's a shop bot. Hello, welcome to the shop bot. Hello. I offer fashion tips and recommendations to help you express your own sense of style. Are you interested in men's or women's fashion? And again, there are different ways to get in. This could be voice, it could be anything. I am just putting this as a conversation. Whether the form that you use can change depending on what you are looking at. Men's. Let's get started. The welcome is done. What's the next principle when you converse with somebody, when you have a conversation? The next is you guide the conversation. There are certain topics you don't want, maybe the topics that you are not comfortable talking to, you actually guide those people, right? You guide the person that you're talking to, you're conversing with. So this is how you can do that or apply the same principle in your conversational UI. What's your favorite genre of music? Rock. Great choice. Let's browse some rock artists together. Now there is another way of thinking. How do I guide this conversation? The way you guide it is by adding another layer to it. Why can't you just give him choices so the conversation doesn't get into indie music or some other music which I may or may not have, right? So that's one way of understanding it. Guide the conversation that you want users to have. What's the next principle? Use natural language. Try to be as natural to your users and to your audiences as much as you can. Simple things like, thanks for checking in. What did you eat for your last meal? The guy says, I ate quinoa salad. Good for you. Again, good for you is not something that most conversational UIs may or may not use because it's too slang, maybe, or too casual, but just be in a natural mode. Did you have a drink with your meal? I had Coke. How do I talk to him now? Maybe consider a bottle of infused water next time. Again, it's just being very natural in conversation. The next one is humanize your brand. We always have brands that actually either you can take your pick. You can either take a kind of a name, give a name to the character. You can be a brand as you are, but humanize it, because when you are conversing, you actually are conversing you like to converse more with a human rather than a bot. Batman vs Superman just released. Have you seen it? No, it's any good? I've heard it's fairly dark one. Sounds like a Batman movie to me. What do you think? I didn't like comic movie features. Again, how do I humanize this? Well, they say no accounting for taste. What type of movies do you like? So basically, the conversation was going somewhere else, but by being a human and having more personality, we are able to guide that. Mind your manners. It's also another interesting principle that we also follow in our day-to-day conversation. Why can't we just apply that on conversational UI? somebody has missed a flight, we, when the chatbot or, whether it's, again, the form is not relevant here, but when we greet and tell the person, show me flights home, sorry, but I did not understand the response, because the person is frustrated and he's just saying, show me flights home. How do I, talk to this person now? I need to be polite. So let me get that again. Show me flights to Dubai. And probably the last or second last principle is prioritize your personalization. And again, we heard in previous talks that whatever we learn or talk and converse with the users, keep that history and talk back to them and use that for your future interactions. There are 9 different restaurants in your mile, you rated Antonio's highly for your lunch special before, do you want to have lunch there? No, I want to talk something different. Okay, no Italian then, do you want to, what do you have in mind? I noted there's a preference for Asian fare. Yes. Is there a Vietnamese restaurant? Yes. This is the one that I can recommend, and this is what I can. So the last principle is plan for misunderstanding. So I'm just trying to work a little faster so that we are already delayed, we don't delay it further. Plan for misunderstanding. Most of the times what happens is when you have a conversation, whether it's human, whether it's the chatbot, there are a lot of misunderstandings that happen because, especially if it's text based, because you don't get the emotions, as we saw in Jeff's presentation, you don't get the emotion related to it. And that's when the misunderstanding happens. So there are ways you can actually handle these misunderstandings and keep that in mind, that this is one of the principles that you should apply. Few examples, again you will find many examples everywhere. I'm just going to skip through some of the examples. WeChat actually has about 10 million businesses that actually offer you so many different things. It's not just a chat application, it's not just WhatsApp in China, there are so many different applications to that. Some other examples, there is Hound, there is Orlo, there are many examples. So basically what I'm trying to say is the beauty of conversational UI, it's very simple to be human, and we have to keep it human to make it more effective, more engaging, and more relevant and contextual to our users. And it's very simple. It's greetings, user request, clarify, confirm, or prompt for more inputs if needed, respond, continue, or close. It's the simplest user journey that you would say. And again, there could be many sub-journeys and variations to it, but this is, all I'm saying is the beauty of this conversational UI, designing for it, is you have to keep it human. So it's like the big boy, today's design, telling the conversational UI, which is new on the block, saying that probably my days as it stand today are getting over. Get ready for CUI or HI or whatever we call it. And that's about it. Thank you so much.